What's going on, everyone? It's Sean from All Things EV, and I'm back in Detroit again here at Sandy Munro and Associates here with Sandy. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
Nice to be seen, period.
This is true. Yeah. Absolutely. So as I was telling you before we hit record, this is happening because so many people asked me if I was going to interview you and ask you about what your thoughts are about the Cybertruck. There's some interesting manufacturing processes that I think you'll be able to shed some light on. And but first I want to know, what were your thoughts about the truck when it rolled up on stage, and did you put in an order for one for yourself?
Okay, so I unfortunately was busy when that rollout came, so I didn't see it. But I had a half a dozen guys that were all around the TV set, and they know my likes, and they knew I would like it. So there's a couple, 3 orders in from people here at Munro to purchase one. To me, I don't have a whole lot going on in my life except for work, and so my only real thing that I do for relaxing is every once in a while I'll go off-roading. So I have a Jeep Rubicon, and it has all the attachments. It's the white one that's sitting outside. It has a lot of attachments, so if I do get into big trouble, I can get myself out of it. And when I saw the pictures the next day, basically, actually one of my guys phoned me up and said, "Hey, did you open your computer and have a look, see what you think?" I opened it up. He says, "What do you think?" I said, "Did we put in orders?" "Yes." "Okay, good." That was the limit of the conversation. So I'm pretty keen on that look. It's very masculine. To me, it looks like the ultimate in off-roading. Anybody that wants to go off-roading, especially if you're also a hunter, you want to be quiet. And all the things that are good about my Jeep, the one thing it really misses, it's not quiet. So anyway, that was quiet. I like the way they put the timber roof. He calls it something else, but anyway, the roof that slides inside itself. There's a lot of things I like about it. I like it's stainless steel. There's a lot of things that appeal to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're a 4x4 enthusiast.
Yes.
We'll get to that in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's definitely a question that I have. I mean, I want some feedback from someone who actually does this as a recreation, gets out into the wilderness, and how this might be able to handle itself in terms of an electric vehicle. But you know, this thing is very angular, and to me, it was very shocking when I saw that on stage. I was there at the event. And it was quite shocking because even though Elon prepped everyone, this is going to be different, this is going to look like a armored personnel vehicle, it still sort of took my breath away, like, oh my God, what is this thing? So it's angular, and a lot of people have compared this to a stealth fighter.
Yeah, well, okay, so Munro worked on those planes. And it is angular, but it's not a stealth fighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to like avoid radar if we're on the highway, and some cops.
No. Sorry, that ain't gonna fly. It's got to be pointier, and there's a whole bunch of things that happen in order to make it so that a stealth fighter can be seen. Now there's ships that are also stealth. They have angular shapes and whatnot. But same sort of a deal. There's all kinds of, and they don't really disappear from radar. They just appear smaller. So a cruiser shows up the size of a fishing boat, that kind of a thing. But no, I don't think so. It'd be nice. And if Elon did it, I'll be very, very surprised. He must be sending another signal back out or something.
Exactly. Yeah. You consult with aerospace and defense quite a bit.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that I was extremely interested in learning about. So we just got done walking through and looking at the different ways that vehicles are made.
Yeah.
The exoskeleton thing was sort of a buzzword, but I gather from you that it's more than just a marketing tagline, that it's an exoskeleton. So talk a little bit about the difference between what Tesla is making with the Model 3, for example, versus what they're talking about with this exoskeleton, and how they might be able to leverage some knowledge in aerospace and pull from SpaceX to make this a very different truck.
Right. So if you look at the Model 3, what you're looking at there is something like what your body is like, right? you have ribs and you have a backbone and bones and whatever. And those things have flesh over the top of them and then skin over the top of that. And that's how, that's basically how you'd have a body in white type of product, okay? It's that monocoque style, or that monocoque build, kind of a build is, it's kind of like sticks are inside, or ribs and longerons, or not longerons, but ribs and connecting pieces and brackets and whatnot are there, and that's what gives you the strength, and then you put a skin over the top of it, and bingo, I've got a car. If I look at body in white, or sorry, not body in white, but if I look at body on frame, then things are slightly different. Now I've got a body that can be made out of anything. I have a rolling chassis, basically, that I can drop anything on top of. And when you're looking at around 50,000 vehicles a year or less, then it's not a bad, it's a good way to go, because it saves you a lot of money on tooling and whatnot. And then you get to an exoskeleton. So the CV outside that plane I showed you a few minutes ago, that CV is truly like a bug, okay? So it's like a beetle. It's got a hard shell, and you get inside and you're safe, and the shell basically absorbs everything. So when they came out with 3 millimeters, that's basically 12 gauge steel. That's pretty heavy duty stuff. I don't know exactly what 300X is. I assume they're making their own stainless steel, which doesn't surprise me. But at the end of the day, that outside skeleton at 1/8 of an inch thick, that's going to be everything. That I don't need any ribs, and I don't need much of anything. That's going to do the job.
Why is the body on frame such a common thing in the truck industry? I mean, almost every truck that I know of, with the exception maybe the Ridgeline, Honda Ridgeline, is body on frame, correct?
Right. Actually, so is my Jeep. And the reason, for the most part, the reason for that is because it's very, very rugged. It's very tough. And there's a lot of variation in trucks, and I can accept that variation with a frame, with a rolling chassis. So it makes it easier and convenient, more convenient to build a product that way. However, if you're looking at very, very high volumes, then you start looking at the body in white as being kind of expensive. A while ago, Chevy brought out the Volt with a V, and that had its own brand new, never been seen before body. That body cost them a fortune in tooling. Some of those dies that make those components are worth millions of dollars each. So you have to have a very, very high volume in order to make all these little pieces that you stamp together, or stamp and then weld together, and then all the big pieces that are really expensive from a tooling standpoint. You have to have a huge volume in order to make those pay off. It's kind of, everything's based on volume. If I got a really high volume, I can't think of any better way to build a car than to use a body in white type of style, or monocoque type of style. If I move down and I don't have as much variation, or I need something really, really strong, then I go to a body on frame. And then I haven't seen anybody, the last car that I know of that was built with a hard shell would be something like a Model A or Model T.
Oh my gosh, wow.
They were very heavy gauge,
yeah,
like 11 gauge, something like that steel. So even heavier than what we're talking about here.
So, some people have referenced the DeLorean from back in the 80s. Yeah. Was that the body in white, sort of unibody style?
That's a unibody,
okay.
Yeah. Or
So even,
body in white, yeah.
Yeah, so even they used sort of this more commonly accepted way to produce
right.
a
And then what
sedan.
they did was they glued stainless steel onto that. The stainless steel really wasn't doing anything except, well, it's less expensive to use an exposed skin like stainless than it is to paint a car. So
yeah.
that was how they were saving a few bucks.
So to be clear, because this was something that several people in my Cybertruck video review insisted that exoskeleton is the same as a body-in-white or unibody. That is not the case, according to
No.
what you're saying. They're different techniques.
No, they are.
You've got a great perspective with aerospace and with automotive. How do you think Tesla or Elon Musk might be able to pull from some of that expertise from the SpaceX side and benefit with making this truck?
Well, you do know that when the attrition started in Washington D.C., when Obama took over, the lion's share of NASA engineers were given the shove. They're gone. Where did they go? I mean, they didn't go and sell shoes. Elon Musk snapped them up and brought them to California. They have a huge crowd of wicked smart people that would have normally never got into that type of industry before, but because Elon saw an opportunity and swung with these guys, he doesn't really answer too much to a board or shareholders or whatever. Mainly what he does is he sees an opportunity and grabs it and runs with it. So he took all those really smart people and took them down to California, and they did come up with SpaceX, and they've come up with a bunch of different ideas. Because, I mean, if you stack the deck with geniuses, you're gonna win. Yeah.
I mean, material-wise or material science-wise, is there some cross-pollination there? I mean, you've got this exoskeleton, which appears like they're sort of taking from SpaceX and the rockets that they're building. Yeah. Has this ever been done before in the automotive industry where, well, you mentioned the Model A, but it sounds like this has never been done before where you create an exoskeleton for an actual vehicle, consumer vehicle?
Well, not that I can think of, not for a long, long time, because they moved away from that type of product. As soon as you get really curvy lines, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Stamping something that's that thick is near impossible, and the tonnage that would be involved is staggering. So by adding ribs and whatnot, and doublers and triplers inside of the A pillars and the B pillars and the D pillars and whatnot, adding stuff inside here, then I can make the skeleton strong and then put curvy shapes and whatnot over the top. So it wasn't really, it evolved into that because people wanted something other than just really simple shapes like on a Model A. So if you look at that and you say, well, okay, so that's kind of like moving from one type of product to another. But if you look at it a little bit more, then you start looking at saying things like, well, what else does he do? That stainless steel he's using, that's his own brand. So from a material standpoint, he's already figured out, hey, you know what? This stuff is good. Whatever it is, this 300 series stainless steel, it's pretty good. And then if you look at the windows that he broke, okay, so if I would have done that with a standard window with a ball that heavy made out of steel, it'd have gone right through and into the passenger seat. Yeah. So even though he hit it and it broke, to me that wasn't a failure. I know that it's better than anything else. So he invented that too. Now I know of another group that makes. He calls it transparent metal, or it's kind of like a transparent ceramic. It has lots of aluminum in it and whatnot, but and it also, the main ingredients are basically aluminum, nitrous oxide, and O3. I can't remember the other one, but anyways, these things are all glued together, or all brought together, and you wind up with what looks like a brick, and then it goes through a heat treat process, and then it goes through a refining process and a polishing process, and now you have Alon or Alon, depends on who you talk to, and it comes in a little piece about that size, and that's what we put into tanks. Yeah. So that will withstand a 50 caliber bullet. that stuff. And there's plenty of things you can see on TV if you type in ALON, I think is how you spell it, and you have a look. You can see what's going on there. So Elon said that I think somebody told me that it would withstand a small caliber bullet. So that's a 303. It's old fashioned, and that might be able to bounce off of the skin of the truck, the Cybertruck, but this is a 50 caliber bullet. Okay, and you'll notice that there's a difference.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah. So this, the Alon will stop that, and this doesn't have a chance. But under normal circumstances, if you take ordinary armor glass, which is maybe about this thick, and you fire it, that'll go right through it. And then if you take something about that thick for Alon, then all of a sudden that bounces off.
Wow.
It does shatter the glass is broken. There's no question about it. But nothing comes on the inside.
Yeah, you protected
and
the cabin.
The outside is all chewed up.
I wonder if this glass. Now, I don't think that they tied the I think it was like they demonstrated a 9mm handgun being shot at the actual body and not the glass.
Yeah.
But could they be using this glass as well in SpaceX and this future
I believe
Starship?
they are. I'm pretty sure that they would be. Right now, one of the big problems with space exploration is the windows. You're getting bombarded continuously with small fragments. You know, it may have a vacuum up there, but it's full of junk. And the small ones, okay, they've got really thick armor glass and it bounces off. But at the end of the day, sooner or later, they're going to hit something the size of you know, like a rock you'd skip on a stream or something that's going thousands of miles an hour, and that could cause a problem. That type of glass, the Elon kinds of stuff, or whatever he's come up with, that'd be the kind of thing I'd want to have in a spaceship if I was going to be doing that. And it would make no sense whatsoever if he's thinking of going to the moon not to have your own hotel. And people are going to want to look out the window, so it wouldn't surprise me that that's what's going on there. I see a lot of things coming out of the guys that they hired from NASA that will be utilized by Tesla's products.
It's really interesting, and probably another topic for another conversation. But this cross-pollination that's going on,
Yeah.
especially with this Cybertruck, it really seems like they've taken some of the best ideas that SpaceX has come up with and created a product that will probably be very hard to compete with, I gather.
I think it's going to have its own niche. People have been telling, oh, it's a pickup truck. No, it's not. And, oh, it's going to compete with a Jeep like my Wrangler. I don't think so. I think this has got its own little niche market. I don't see this being something that the average F-150, especially not like I'm young, but I don't think you're going to see many older F-150 drivers jump ship and get into that. But if you are an off-roader, it has appeal because it's quiet, especially if you're a hunter, and there's lots of room. I mean, at 6.5 feet, well, it's got 2 meters or whatever. At 2 meters, if I shot a deer, I could put that in there, and if I had a moose, I could maybe get it in there. But the thing is, he's got that extension, which is like perfect for quads and whatnot. But you know what? If you really are hunting and you do shoot something big like a moose or whatever, I'm thinking that you should be able to pull that, and it kneels, which is even better. So I can drop the back end down, put a winch in it, pull it up, and if that extension is there, I just leave it wherever it happens to go, and now I've got a lot of room to either haul things, or, like I say, if you're hunting and whatnot, you've got that aspect. There's a lot of good things in that.
Based on what you know about the manufacturing of pickup trucks, how is what Tesla is offering with the Cybertruck going to be more cost effective? Will it be more cost effective to produce something like this, knowing that it's not, it doesn't have the same approach to manufacturing?
Well, okay. So first off, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of stamping dies. Sure. If what I can't see, the parts I didn't crawl underneath it. For some reason, I didn't get an invitation. But anyways, the things that I can't see are the things that may be stamped. But everything I saw won't be stamped. It'll probably be brake formed. So, you have a brake. It's just basically a big thing that goes up and down, and that'll give him whatever shapes he wants. And the outside skin, my guess, is going to be water cut. So the sheet will come in and it'll be water cut, and then it'll move on down the line a little bit, and there'll be a couple of break points. And I'm guessing that he'll probably just TIG weld the whole works, because TIG welding with stainless steel works the best, and that'll make it rock solid. And then there's no paint, so that kind of saves you anywhere from $300 to $450 right there. That's no paint means I don't have to have a paint line, and then you also get rid of the other issues. The EPA does not like paint at all, and they would just as soon get rid of it if possible, and this is a good way of doing that too. And it looks snappy. I mean, I don't think you're going to have to worry too much about mud or bird poop or
no
whatever.
Scratch. I mean, so if it gets scratched, I hear it's easy to buff out.
I'm going to tell you a secret. If you look at my Wrangler right now, you'll see that there's bumps and bruises and scratches on it. That means that I actually use it. Yeah. And I bet you dollars to donuts, the people who buy it will not be buffing it out, unless they're buying it for style or something like that. I want to buy it to look cool.
That's a good segue into how this thing will interact with an accident or a crash.
It's going to win. I think. Actually, that's coming out. When's the date for release? 2023.
A couple years. Yeah.
2023, something like that. Okay, by then we should have so much crash avoidance that I don't think you're going to see too much of that.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Really, that would go for both pedestrians and somebody would have to be trying to get hit by a car at that point in time, I think. Yeah, so I don't think that's going to be as big an issue as it is now. Now we have crash tubes. We have points where the car or truck will bend or break or fall off, basically, or shear off, so that so you can get rid of mass and whatnot. But I don't think that's going to happen too much in the future, because if you've got crash avoidance and it's working, should be no big wow.
If this truck is high demand and high volume production, stainless steel, is it readily available?
Yeah.
Resource-wise, raw material-wise, they shouldn't have any issues with getting enough raw materials to be able to fabricate, produce.
No, that shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay. That's been something that, of course, for batteries and battery raw materials, that's been something.
That's a whole different ball game.
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
Yeah, you're not. That's not apples to apples. Battery materials are, well, unless somebody comes up with something new, battery materials, especially cobalt, are a real problem.
Yeah, my understanding is that Tesla is on their way to working cobalt completely out.
Everybody is. Yeah. LG, Samsung, everybody is trying to get rid of cobalt. Yeah.
So you've been pretty critical of Tesla's build quality in the past. Does this approach solve your concerns now?
I'm pretty sure that Elon's not stupid. You make a mistake once, well, that happens. Make the same mistake twice, you're not smart. But Elon is smart, and I think that probably what he's done is, I'm looking forward to tearing apart the Y. We have a couple of people that have volunteered their vehicles as well, so I'm gonna as soon as that thing comes out, I want to get a hold of one and we'll take it apart and have a look. But I'm expecting a great deal of improvement on the way that car is built. I especially want to find out what they did with the wire. I think it's going to either be Bluetooth or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So their communication is going to be a little bit different, and I think they all they did was have power lines. So that would be great if they did that. But I am positive that he won't make that mistake twice.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to. I mean, we've talked about in the previous interview about the stamping machine that's supposed to take 70-something parts and combine it down to one. So they're simplifying processes.
That's just the way you design it. That was for the wheel wells and stuff like that. And 13 parts to get to one part is no big wow. I just and I think I mentioned this before. I talked to him about that,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Well, I got rid of that guy." So, and that's that. I mean, that's what you do if you're in sports or if you're trying to make money. Somebody doesn't perform, you wish him well on wherever else he's going to go or
Mm-hmm.
she's going to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when it's tied to cost of things. If it's costing Tesla money.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, it gives everybody a black eye. Every company, whether you want to believe it or not, every company is a team. And if the team doesn't get along, or if there's somebody who's not pulling his weight, they have to go away. They can go to another team that doesn't care to win. The Munro team, we want to win. We don't, and that's why, I mean, I can come here, I don't know, anytime, almost night or day, and there's somebody here doing something because they want to win. They want that product to succeed. And in our case, so sometimes it's a new product that we're designing for somebody, or sometimes it's somebody brought something in, and like for instance that door that's outside off the 787, that door doesn't make money. It's too heavy and whatnot. So we'll redesign that thing, and when we give it back, that team will win. The team that has that door will win, and that makes us feel good. Yeah, so it's not all about cash, but pretty close to making everything work.
Mm-hmm. So this truck has a starting price point of $39,900. Is there some innovation happening in there? How are they able to get a price that low for a battery electric truck?
With 500 miles of range. I don't know how to do that.
Well, I think that the 500 miles certainly is going to be more expensive, but I mean, a $39,000, basically rounded up, $40,000 pickup truck with 250 plus miles of range, I think is that base end.
Yeah.
Is there some innovation there? Is that a compilation of the manufacturing process of the exoskeleton? Is it the battery cells? Is it there's some magic in there? It seems like.
Well, it seems like every day when we start tearing something apart on the stuff we already looked at Tesla, we find more magic. My guess is that, and it is a guess, that they bought another battery company. What's the name of those guys? Maxwell. So it could be that they've got something up on everybody else, and they know what their next generation battery will look like. Some people are telling me that it's that Maxwell was real close to a solid state battery. I haven't seen one of those yet. I don't know what the technology would be in order to make that work, but hey, maybe he's got that. There's a lot of things that could happen to make that happen. But I can tell you right now, we've torn apart. Well, you just saw we just got the Leaf motor in. We've torn apart pretty much every motor that's worth anything, and we've discovered that really and truly Tesla's probably, well, the Tesla Model 3 permanent magnet motor beats everything. And there's nothing out there that we can find. And we know that there's some kind of magic in it. People say it's switch reluctance and stuff like that. I don't know about that, but I do know that the battery case has got stuff in it, rare earth materials that we don't normally see in aluminum. I like everything. All the guys in here that are in powertrain, So I'm an engine engineer, and we've got a lot of people here that are likewise. And we like everything about the way that electric motor goes together. And like I say, we've done, I think, 9 electric motors now that are all, the I-Pace, the e-tron, and this Leaf is the one we just got in here recently. But we can't find anything that can compare. I'd say that electric motor is 5 years ahead of everybody else. So that's one good thing. Their battery system, of all the battery systems we've looked at, the 2170 is my favorite. I don't know if I would do everything quite the same as what they did, but I don't know all the other things that go on with their company. But we like that battery the best. Of all the batteries that we've looked at, we look at that one and say, that looks pretty damn good. But somebody has got to have some kind of innovation coming down the pike, and if he's going to go for this kind of a market for that kind of price, there's got to be something that he knows that he's not telling. So.
Well, they've got 2 years to make it happen. I mean, my guess is they're pretty confident about what they've got right now, and that they can meet that. Whether it's the 250 plus mile range of the pickup truck or the 500 plus.
500 is that's a lot of weight if it's a conventional battery, even for theirs, which there's a lot of good things in coming out of Tesla, and that's why everybody remembers Elon Musk's name. Here's something that is good for maybe at a party with a bunch of enthusiasts. Ask them who is it that runs FCA, or
right.
or ask them, who runs General Motors even. I mean, nobody knows.
No.
Nobody knows any of that stuff. These are just like outlines of a face. Nobody cares. Nobody cares because they aren't doing anything that's standout. Elon Musk, everything he does is a standout. So for me, nothing is going to surprise me. If he comes out and here's my 500-mile car, and you open it up and you go, oh wow, there's magic in here, or little mice are running around, or who knows. But I don't know what it's going to be. But he'll have something, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's remarkable that it's not just 500 miles on a sedan from Tesla. This is a truck that's, I gather that it's relatively aerodynamic in terms of how it's shaped. I think Elon said that he was shooting for a 0.3 drag coefficient. They said that they would have to work incredibly hard to do that, but it's possible to do. So if they can achieve that, it's the most aerodynamic truck on the market for sure, for certain. But there's got to be something more than that. With a 500-mile, this is a pickup truck we're talking about here. So
yeah. I'm
fascinated by the idea of what they've done engineering-wise to make that happen.
Well, I really can't say. I've only seen videos and stuff like that, and a couple of scraps of information that they put out. But I really, the only thing I can speculate on is that they've got something that they're putting up their sleeve. Well, there's the other option too. We're currently working on a project for nuclear power. We're running out of power, and waste from nuclear energy is, although everybody is all scared, but the waste from that is a lot less than the amount of garbage that you send into the air when you're firing up coal or what have you, and there's no pipelines and what. And if we start using things like thorium instead of uranium, things could change a lot. So who knows? Maybe maybe Elon's got some kind of magic inside there with a thorium reactor.
You've talked about being able to use this as a 4x4 off-road vehicle.
Yeah.
Super quiet. The air suspension should allow you to have some
Great
flexibility.
ride.
Yeah. Are there some other things that appeal to you about it when you think about, let's say you were to have this and take it out and go 4x4ing? What other things appeal to you about it?
Well, there's a lot of things that appeal to me about it. I got quite a bit of ground clearance if I want it. I can pump it up in the air without, you know, like every time I see one of these jack trucks, I wonder,
Yeah.
okay, I wonder when that guy's going to die going around a curve. This one I can bring up and down at my leisure. The thing that I mean, jacking it up is great. That'll be good for going through deep water or over the top of like big rocks and things like that. But actually, one of the things I like is I can drop it down. I can, like a camel, I can
Sure.
make it kneel. And that's very handy when you've got something really heavy and you're trying to put it into that tailgate. Like that thing that they've got in the back now that comes out and down and whatnot so you can put your quads in. That's not a brand new idea. We've been proposing that to different car companies and OEMs, I should say, since the 90s. And they never went for it, ever. Because they said, oh, it's extra weight and nobody's going to care about that. And they can buy a forklift truck or something. You know, nobody really wanted to get involved in that. But that one image that they've got where he goes like this and the thing falls out the back end, not falls out, but extends out the back end, and then he puts his quads in. There's a lot of guys that would get very excited about that, because driving up those little stupid aluminum ramps. Okay, so I broke this wrist, and it always hurts fooling around with them and trying to get them up the little ramps, especially if you're on soft pack like sand or something like that. So you're going up, and the ramp has decided it's going to go down into a hole. Only on one side, though, of course. And you find yourself jumping off one side and quad rolling in the dirt on the other. This thing that he's got, that looks very appealing to people who have bikes and motorcycles, scramblers, whatever, and dirt bikes kind of things, or quads. So a lot of good things from my standpoint.
What's the big three talking about in their boardrooms regarding this vehicle?
I don't know. I really couldn't say. Probably most of them will look at it and find it unappealing because
Sure.
it's different. So it's been my experience when I was. I used to be at one of the OEMs, and I attended a lot of different board meetings. And usually when it was something that was as dramatically different as what the Tesla is, it would be about a 3-second conversation. That'll never go anywhere. Okay, fine, let's go. And that's how so we lost the small car market, and then lost the luxury market, and we're in the process now of losing the pickup truck market. And it happens because you dismiss a competitor, and so we do a lot of different kinds of work, and one of those things is when we go and work with a company that needs to turn around. And when that happens, and I bring out my little book, usually it's sitting up there, but it's not, but anyway, on Sun Tzu, okay, The Art of War.
Mm-hmm.
And in there, Sun Tzu says, never, never, ever dismiss an enemy. Keep your eye on them all the time, because what you see and what they're doing might not be the same trick. So I think that probably, for the most part, the OEMs in North America are probably just dismissing it. Maybe not Jeep, but I think the rest of them definitely would just say, that's no pickup truck. Do you realize how long we've been in the marketplace? And
Mm-hmm.
I can hear they go into a back padding frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
In some of these things, and that's always the first step. For walking the plank, as it were.
Yeah. I mean, the truck market appears to be quite large. So
Huge. That's where all the profit is too.
I learned recently about this chicken tax. The tax on imported sedans is 2.5%, but the tax on imported trucks is 25%.
Yeah.
And so that's why you don't see as much foreign competition.
Well, you
pickup
do
trucks.
if they're built here, no problem.
Right.
Okay. The chicken tax. I haven't heard that term in a long time, but anyway, that import tax is heavy duty to keep out things from even Brazil. They have some cute trucks down there. But at the end of the day, protecting the truck market has been going on since World War II, I think, a long, long time. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure that that's going to be playing into Elon Musk's hand at all.
Well, if I mean, it appears based on the level of orders, though $100, it does signify some level of interest in the truck. I don't know very many other automakers that have a launch event like that can pull together that much interest in that short amount of time.
Yeah, I just I wanted to make sure I knew everything that I could know, and I just saw that there's 200,000 orders. That's an awful lot of $100 bills.
It is.
I'm wondering about. Okay, they got they got that money, and that probably makes the investors feel good. For me, I find it astounding. 200,000 orders. If he had, I don't know how many assembly lines he's going to need for cranking out that kind of stuff. If he wanted to try and make everybody happy in a year or two, so that's going to be a tough call. I don't know, but 200,000 people saying yes, here's my $100. That's got to say enough. If I was on a board member on one of the OEMs, that'd be enough for me to say, okay, we better pay attention to what's going on here.
Maybe prioritize some funding to accelerate the program, get it out a little bit sooner. They did this with the Model 3. They accelerated that program, trying to make it happen sooner.
Yeah.
And that's going quite well, I think. That was a good move for them. Well, Sandy, it's great to catch up again. Thank you for taking some time to talk us through your opinions of the Cybertruck, and looking forward to all of you, what you have to say in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch everyone on the next video.